Hello, and welcome to Monumental, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, leaders, visionaries, and big thinkers making monumental change. Here's your host, Evan Holiday.
Welcome back to Monumental. I'm your host, Evan Holiday, and today on the show, we have the man we just met last weekend, Zak Haptonstall. Zak, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Evan. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was good meeting you at a conference in Dallas last weekend, and I appreciate the opportunity to do your show.
Yeah, honestly, it was great to meet you. Great to meet your partner, Grace, and just hear all about what you're doing and to bring our listeners up to speed. So Zak has ZH Multifamily, and he actually transitioned from healthcare marketing all the way into multifamily syndication, what he's doing now, and really has scaled up really quickly. So that's why I'm really excited to have Zak on the show. You know, it took him 10 months to find his first deal, but now they're looking at and have under contract or closing on over 300 units. And he also hosts the Phoenix Multifamily Meetup, which is a very successful meetup in Phoenix. And then also 35 Below, which is a financial education meetup for young professionals. So guys, I'm really excited to have Zak on the show today. Zak, let's just take it from the very beginning and kind of go into your background and how you got into real estate.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Evan. So I was born and raised here in Phoenix. So I pretty much lived my life. I grew up in a lower middle class family. So we always had what we needed. We were always in good shape, but never came from like a real estate background or wealth or anything like that. I played football at a small school in Colorado for a bit. Other than that, I pretty much lived in Phoenix my entire life. So I realized I wasn't going to make the NFL. So I came back to Phoenix. I wanted to be a sports reporter. So I got a journalism degree at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism here at Arizona State. And so I was a live news anchor and a sports reporter on Arizona PBS. And I co-hosted a show on Fox Sports Network Arizona through a program at the school there, which gave me a good sense of what the journalism industry was like. And it was cool being on TV at first and everything like that, but I quickly realized you don't make any money doing that. You work crazy hours. It's very political. And I was like, man, I don't want to do this. So I had graduated. I was 21. I had all this school debt. And I realized, crap, I just got a degree in something I don't want to do. What do I do? And so at the time I was delivering medical equipment on nights and weekends, like wheelchairs, stuff like that, like the odd job I had got to pay for school. And so my boss was like, hey man, you can make good money doing healthcare marketing. I was like, okay. So I just graduated and I actually got a job of all things as a hospice marketer. So I don't know if you're familiar with what hospice care is by chance, Evan. Basically like mobile nursing and caregiving, mobile care for patients who have end-of-life illnesses, things like that. So my job was to wake up in the morning and drive all around Phoenix and just cold call, walking into hospitals, doctors' offices, assisted living, and build relationships with physicians, social workers, nurses. And when they had a patient who needed these services, they called me, and I would meet with the patient and family and educate them on the resources, and if it's something they want to take advantage of, get them signed up. So it sounds kind of weird, but hospice is actually an extremely competitive and lucrative private business industry. And it's federally regulated and reimbursed by Medicare, so these services are all paid for by these patients' insurance. Phoenix is extremely competitive market. It's the number one market in the country for this type of just because the demographics, there's a lot of seniors here. So anyway, I was very fortunate to do well in that industry. And in all humility, I became like the best hospice marketer around, or one of the top guys. And so I was blessed to become the director of marketing, and then I became an owner in the company. And before I knew it, I was making more money than both my parents combined by the time I was 23. You know, so I got like $200K a year. I bought a house. I paid off my school. I got an MBA. I paid all my school off with my own cash. And so I was very fortunate to do well. But I was doing that for about 4.5 years, and I just wasn't happy anymore. I got burnt out. You know, I was working 60 plus hours a week doing something I'm not passionate about. I was on call 7 days a week. I was going to the hospital, things like that. And I was like, man, I'm making great money, but I'm just not happy. So I had tried to pursue the sports journalism thing, which I thought was a passion. And I didn't like it, really. I wasn't happy. Then I tried to pursue the money, and it was great. And I'm fortunate. I have no regrets to have done well with that because I learned a lot and was able to establish a good financial foundation. But I still wasn't fulfilled, you know. So I was like, man, how do I figure out how I can gain control of my time and real freedom? And so last year, January 2018, I just said, screw it. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to do this, and I don't have any time to even figure it out. So I resigned from my job and I sold my equity in the company, and I had no plan at all. Like, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that I wanted to somehow create passive income to gain control back over my time, and I wanted to do that with real estate. So I had gotten my real estate license like in 2016, 2 years prior to that. I had never used it. I knew nothing about investing. And so in January of 2018, right after I quit my job, I knew a family friend who owned some mobile home parks. I met him at a Christmas party, and he's like, hey, read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So as the cliche goes, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it changed my mindset. And that was kind of a catalyst. And so I just started to consume all these real estate books and all the podcasts, just like yours, Evan, which provides a lot of value, and just learn about this. And you keep in mind, like, I don't have a rich uncle. I don't have any family or anything. So this was all very intimidating and overwhelming because these are big numbers, right? Big properties. And so I was looking at mobile home parks, and I cold called over 90 mobile home park owners here in Phoenix, trying to buy something on sell or carry. And I tried to buy one, but some other guy got it. So I was kind of discouraged. So anyways, I'm just learning, consuming as much information as I can. I learned about multifamily and the benefits of using leverage with a loan. And I learned about syndication and the value and power of raising capital from other people. And so I really decided, okay, I need to stop looking all over the place. Like, I'm not going to do flips. The mobile home park, I like that asset class, but it's just not working. I decided I need to dive in and just focus solely on multifamily syndication. And so I just started cold calling, like, brokers, lenders, property managers, and I was terrified. Like, I had a lot of anxiety because you feel like you don't belong in this industry, right? And you feel like you're a pretender, so to speak. But that was a big step when I started to call those guys and meet with them. And so long story short, I'm trying to find a deal. Nothing is penciling. 6-7 months go by, and I wake up every morning and I don't know what I'm supposed to do that day. You know what I mean? I'm just burning through savings because I basically decided I was going to live off savings for these 12 months. And so it was a lot of adversity I went through. I started going to conferences and mostly in Dallas and other places, which really helped to change the network of people I was around. I joined like a mentorship program, and through that I was able to meet some people who brought the complementary skill sets that I needed. And so long story short, I met a guy named Robert. He was also local here in Phoenix, and he's high net worth, high liquidity. I'm not high net worth, high liquidity. 36 unit deal in October. We underwrote the deal. It actually penciled, surprisingly, and we wanted to jump on it. So we put in an offer, and then it got accepted. And we're like, oh crap, like, what do we do now? We didn't think it'd actually get accepted. And so long story short, we get this deal under contract. We ended up doing a tenant in common structure. We closed on that in early February of this year, and we were fortunate for that. And then we just kept pounding the pavement underwriting deals. And so we found another deal. It was a portfolio of 2 deals, a 76 unit and a 59 unit, and that penciled. And so we got that under contract, and we just closed on that last week. So that was 135 units, $13.5 million. We did a 506B syndication on one of them, and we did another tenant in common on the Scottsdale 59 unit deal. And then we found another deal that penciled here in Phoenix. And these are a needle in a haystack. As you know, Evan, and as many of the investors and listeners know, it's hard to find these deals. But we're closing today, actually, like in a few hours. We're waiting for the deed to record on a 137 unit, $17.5 million deal here in Phoenix, which we actually did a 506C syndication. So we've been very blessed, man, to finally get that first deal after going through all the adversity, making no money last year, to catch the momentum and then just keep going. So that's kind of the real estate background. So I'm no expert or anything like that, but we finally got some deals, and we feel fortunate for that.
I love it, man. I love hearing that. And I love, like, you had a whole story where the underlying themes that I picked up on are, it seems like you have an amazing amount of grit and resolve, because, you literally were saying, okay, well, I don't know where the next step is. I know the direction I want to head in. I don't know how I'm going to get there though. And so you took that leap of faith on yourself and said, I have some money saved up, and you just went after it and just educated yourself, jumped in the deep end, committed on yourself, and had the grit and resolve to actually get it done. And I feel like that's a reoccurring theme in all successful entrepreneurs, is having that, like, resolve and grit, and to basically say in your mind that there's no way that this is not going to get done. Like, this is going to happen. It's just a matter of how and when.
Yeah, and it's all about patience. I mean, it's easy to sit here now and say, oh, like, like, oh, you have great determination and great grit to get through it, but it's hard, man. Like a lot of days I wanted to quit. You know, there was a lot of days where you wake up and I'm not making any money. You go from getting fat paychecks every couple of weeks to burning through savings. And I wake up and I say, what am I supposed to do today to move the needle? Because it's hard. And I talk to a lot of people now. I'm constantly setting up calls with people, and I'm happy to help anybody out there with any advice. But yeah, like you said, you have to, it's kind of like an oxymoron. Like you have to relentlessly attack each day. You have to try to figure out how you can move forward, even if it's listening to a podcast like yours, Evan, or even if it's just reading some article. How can you move the needle today? But you also have to be patient, because the multifamily market right now it's very overheated. It's crazy. It's becoming somewhat mainstream with all the gurus and everything. And you got to be careful. You don't want to do a deal just to do a deal. You have to make sure that you understand, you have the people in place. But yeah, I think there's determination is a big factor in that, and you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. And you're exactly right. I mean, you want your first deal to be a very good deal. So going back to when you made that decision to commit 100% on yourself and commit on real estate and passive income, how much runway did you have? How many months did you have saved up? Do you remember?
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm always very transparent. So I had like relentlessly saved my money. I'm 27 now. So I started when I was 21, making pretty good money, making six figures, or 22 really. So when I resigned last year and I sold the equity, I got a little bump for my equity sale. I had 206K, okay, which obviously is not common. And I recognize I was very fortunate to have that. And so I said, okay, I'm going to live off savings. And at the time I had Grace was my girlfriend at the time. We're now engaged, my fiance, living together. And we talked about it. And I said, hey, if we want to be all in, we got to figure out how to do this. And it's going to be tough and it's going to take time. But I already knew what it's like to make a pretty good income. And I knew I was getting taxed heavily, and you're not going to build wealth that way. I was just going to go crazy basically and get burnt out and not happy. And so I said, okay, let's cut all our personal expenses. So we don't have any type of TV service. Like we canceled cable, canceled Spotify. I spaced my haircuts out, like whatever I had to do just to reduce expenses. And by the way, you don't have to do this. Like for anybody who's listening, I know it sounds kind of extreme. Like this is just the way I did it, because I was fortunate to have that little nest egg. And so I said, okay, in 12 months, I need to find something. But that money goes quick, you know, when you're not making it. It's a total mind shift, because you're trying to think about how you can actually build wealth instead of having like transactional type of living. And so I was burning through the savings pretty quickly. I was going to conferences, spending a lot of money on plane tickets, investing in education programs, thing like that. And so by the time it was like October, I had invested in, and I was also renovating my house. So I bought a house in 2015. I was renovating the house because I was trying to push up the appreciation, which is probably pretty stupid, thinking back when I should have saved that money. But I basically put almost all my chips in the first deal. So we did a tenant in common structure. We didn't do a syndication. It's because it just was the best way to do it. Like at the time, Robert and I got this deal under contract. It was a $3.4 million deal. We needed to raise $1.4 million. And we each had $25,000 of non-refundable earnest money. And I was like, screw it. So I put almost all the money I had left, which was like I put $160K into that deal. And we brought in a 1031 exchange partner. One of my partners, Elisa Zhang, and she brought in almost half of it by selling a 12-unit deal in Seattle. And then I brought in a few people at 150 each. Robert brought in some people, and we made it happen. So at that time, I was like, crap. I knew in December we were going to close on it early in the year, but I was like, I'm out of liquidity. But I realized I'm sitting on this house with 120 to 150 of equity into it. So I told Grace, like, we got to unload the house. You know what I mean? And I never thought I was going to sell that house as my first house. I was going to rent it out or keep it. But I lived in it for 3 years, so I knew if I sold it, I wouldn't pay any capital gains tax. So we listed the house. And we moved in December, and we started renting. Like the whole Kiyosaki thing, like have your assets pay for your liabilities type of mindset. And so we sold the house in April, finally closed, and the next week I wired $100K hard escrow into the next portfolio deal. So I was kind of all in. And you got to remember, this whole thing was like a mind shift throughout 2018, where I was trying to understand how this worked. And then you just get so frustrated that it's so hard to break into the game. So when I got the first deal, it was kind of like getting a monkey off my back, and you kind of feel like you're in the club, so to speak. And I just wanted to go all. So yeah, I don't even know what your question was, Evan. Sorry, I talked so much. But
no, I love it. This is adding massive value for our listeners. And really, I love the fact that, like, and you touched on it exactly. It's like from going from that like employee mindset to that entrepreneur mindset, or at least more of like, you're literally having to shift your mind from saying, okay, I'm thinking for myself now, and I'm thinking for our family now, and I'm making decisions that are going to pay off in the long run. And it may cost a little at the beginning, it may hurt a little at the beginning, but it's taking that leap of faith and saying, okay, well, I know real estate, the benefits are tremendous as far as passive income, cash flow, tax write-offs. There's just so many advantages to real estate. And I think it's so important to impress on people, like, anybody can do this, first off. And second off, like, what you did is a great way to go about it, is save a nest egg. You don't need to have everything lined up right away, but if you have a runway, then that will give you the time you need to get educated, to find partners, to go all in on the deals. And I love what you said about your house too. Like, we rent where we live right now in Nashville. We own many units in Louisville and in Nashville,
Right.
but we actually don't own where we live, because it's the same mindset. It's like, I don't want my equity tied up in my house. I want it tied up in rental properties and multifamily and cash flowing passive income properties. So I applaud you for that. And I just want to make sure to bring that up to all of our listeners, because it's a different way of thinking compared to the masses. And I've had a lot of, friends that have grown up and said, I'm going to buy a car, buy a house, I'm going to get that done first. And then I'm going to think about rental properties. Like, well, at that point, you're already building a family, you're building so much, and you're building so many liabilities that dig into your cash flow, that it makes it hard to build that up after you have all those liabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in all fairness too, I know a lot of listeners are probably like, oh, great. Well, this guy, he doesn't have kids and he's not married and he had a bunch of savings, which is true. And so you don't have to do it the way I did. I know a bunch of successful investors and syndicators who have full-time jobs. And in April, I actually got another healthcare marketing job, Evan. And it's very flexible. It allows me to do a ton of hours. Like, I'm working no less on multifamily real estate. I'm working no less than 80 to 85 hours a week, which sounds kind of crazy, but it doesn't feel that way when it's your business. You know what I mean? Because it's like an adrenaline rush, and you wake up and you want to, especially when you have a lot of deals going, and it won't always be that way. It's because we're doing a lot of acquisitions right now. But yeah, I mean, you absolutely do it with a full-time job, and you just can't waste your time on things like social media. Like, social media is garbage for the most part. You can't waste your time watching TV and doing stuff that doesn't matter. Don't hang out with people who don't have the same goals as you, because it's just going to suck up your time. So you have to take advantage of what I call like the 24-hour mission. Like, every day you have to be on a mission and just kind of time block what you want to achieve that day. But it's very attainable. You don't have to have a bunch of money saved up and live off savings to go about it. It's really about finding the network and learning about the asset class.
Yeah, exactly. And committing to that education, committing to yourself, because you are your best asset, and investing in yourself and your education is something that nobody can take away from you. That's literally a lifetime investment.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So walk us through that first deal. How was it? How did you find it? How did you partner? Let's go deep into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the deal was on the market. All of our deals have been on market. So I know everybody says you have to find these off-market deals. You don't have to do that. You have to just relentlessly underwrite all the deals and meet your criteria, and you can get lucky and find. We kind of joke, like, we feel like the brokers sometimes make mistakes and underprice these deals because everything else isn't even close. But it was on the market. We toured the deal. It made sense. I underwrote it. We shopped all the comps, and it actually penciled. And it was one of the only deals all year out of, 40 or 50 deals that we had underwritten that actually penciled and made sense with our conservative assumptions in place, as far as conservative 2% stabilized annual rent growth and at least 100 basis points of cushion between your entry cap rate and your exit cap rate, and then high economic vacancy to support the turn. So it was a 36-unit deal. It's if you're familiar with the Phoenix area, it's like 35th Avenue in Missouri. It's right across the street from Grand Canyon University. More importantly, it's right across the street from an elementary school. And so the unit mix is it's 26 twos and 10 3 bedrooms. So it's primarily families with small kids, which is good. We like that mix because it's more insulated toward a recession. And make no mistake, like, you're never completely resistant towards a recession. But if you can have a unit mix that supports multiple income earners with 2 to 3 bedrooms, or you've got families, or you've got roommates, then they can, not only are they more insulated towards recession, but they can absorb rent increases. And just like you, Evan, our business plan is value add. So we're trying to find older assets in upcoming areas, or assets that have potential to increase the value. And ideally, we want to find a combination of loss to lease, meaning that the property's rents are not up to the market. So meaning if we bought the deal today, as these leases start to expire, we can push up these rents day one after they expire without having to do any improvements, just because that's what the market commands. So we'd like to find a combination of that loss to lease component, and then also the value add, appreciation, which is where we will shop the comps. And if we see that other properties are getting higher rents at a high occupancy rate with certain finishes, we can renovate our units to that finish in order to push the rents that way. So anyways, this was a 36 unit deal, $3.4 million. We got it under contract. Robert and I had to raise $1.4 million. We're like, oh crap, how do we do this? We never done this before. So we just started pounding the phones. We're like 30 days into due diligence. We were hard for $25K each, like I said. I just started talking to people, and I spoke to Elisa. She's like, hey, I have this 12 unit deal in Seattle. It's closing 2 weeks prior to your 36 unit deal. Why don't I 1031 exchange that and do a tick structure? I said, that sounds great. Like, what the hell is a tick structure? How does that work? And so it was kind of funny. So she brought over $600K of our 1.4 just with that 1031. Like I said, I put in 160. Robert put in almost 300. We brought in some other guys at 150 each, and it was a long, scary closing. We had a really dishonest seller, and we were told that there was something with we knew there was some issue with the roof. So there was a storm like a month or two prior, and we knew there was some issue. We were told there was an insurance claim, and in the contract, we were to be assigned the insurance claim. And we're waiting, and soon enough, we find out there was no insurance claim. Completely made it up. So then we say, okay, we're going to need a credit. We need a $100,000 credit for this roof. The guy goes silent on us for like 30 days. You know what I mean? And this was a long escrow, because they extended the escrow from the beginning just because it was right around the holidays. And so, but anyways, it's going silent on us. So we're just like waiting. And it's scary because when you don't know what you're doing, and you haven't done this before, and you have tens of thousands of dollars at risk,
yep.
You're just wondering like what's going to happen next. So anyways, he finally agreed to the credit, thank goodness. And we were able to close on that deal at the beginning of February. So, and it's going really well. We're actually on pace right now to double our money in 12 months. And so it's going tremendously well. And our plan is to 1031 exchange that deal into like a B plus type of area. So this property it's a C asset in a C area. Okay. So, and that's what you really have to find in order for these deals to make sense. You don't want to be in a D area. You don't want to be in like a low income or just sketchy area, to say the least. But you want to find a value add component. So we want a 1031 exchange. We do think there's a correction or some type of recession coming next year. We want to be out of there before the elections. We'll 1031 into a B plus area, and then we'll long-term hold it.
Okay. So, so going into, what is your value add play there? Is it interior or exterior, or some component of both?
Yeah, it's both. So day one, we started to replace all the roofs. So we got that credit. There's 4 buildings. We've replaced all the roofs, all brand new roofs now. We've done brand new exterior paint. So it was like an ugly dark brown. It was very dated. And we've painted it like a more modern, like a cream and a gray type of color, which looks really good. Interior wise, our business plan was to renovate half of the interiors. So 18 of the 36. Right now we've completed 12 of those interiors. And we were very conservative in order for our model to work. So with our model, in our projections, we were basically projecting a 75% overall return for ourselves. And keep in mind, this is not a syndication. So this is a deal we bought with our own money. We wanted to prove the concept and learn before we take investor money, okay? Yeah. So it's very conservative, and these may not be the most attractive returns, but we were happy with the returns. So we were projecting a 75% over. You invest 100K, you get 175 back over the life of the investment, okay? And then a 7.5% cash on cash. We were trying to push the 2 bedrooms, which were like 760, 770. We were trying to push those to 915. But we've been hitting every single one at 950. base rent plus a $60 rub. So we've been leasing them all up at $950, $60 rub. We're blowing those numbers out of the water. The
Wow.
3 bedrooms, we were trying to get them, they were like at 870, 875 previously. We were projecting to push them to 995, and we've been leasing every single one of them up at 1030. So 1,030 plus a $60 rub, which is a utility income item. And so we thought we could outperform those numbers. We thought they were conservative rents, but you don't really know until you're doing it. And I personally secret shop the comps thoroughly on all these acquisitions that we do. So I go into the competing properties. And for those of you who don't understand what that means, you have a property management company, a third-party property management company, and they can give you what are comparable properties based on the year built, unit mix, just the condition of the asset, things like that. So I'll go into these other properties and I'll basically act like I'm trying to rent a unit. I'll go in there and I say, hey, can I see all your 2 and 3 bedrooms? I'll go in there and take pictures of finishes, see how big they are, what's the rent per square foot, things like that. So you can get a good idea of where you can push your rents to based on the market. And so we were conservative on that. And so we were projecting that 75% and 7.5% cash on cash. We're actually on pace for 116% return, which means if you invest 100K, you make 216K, and we're over a 9% cash on cash. So we've been very fortunate that it's going really well. And it's a combination of things. We were able to cut our costs. I met a guy, my buddy Tom Zarab. He owns a property management company, but he doesn't want to manage any more deals. And so we had an agreement on the front end where he used his construction company for his company to basically do all of our renovations, but we have a separate third-party property management company that's managing the asset. And so because he was able to cut all our costs down, we gave him sweat equity in the deal for doing that. So not only have we cut our costs on the renovation side to make this deal work, we've been outperforming our rents, which just makes the returns go up. So we've been very fortunate on that deal.
That's great, man. That sounds like an awesome first deal to get under your belt. And it sounds like you're already well on your way to be doing a whole lot more deals and filling up the pipeline.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I mean, yeah, we took our first distribution a few weeks ago, which was 4.5 months into it. So it was over $1,000 right there of passive income. And the first couple of months are more intensive as far as asset management, because you want to make sure your property manager is on track for your budget and taking care of those capital items. But then after that, we do a weekly phone call every week, 30 minutes to an hour. Robert or I go to the property every week, so we're always checking on it. And as we've continued to scale up, it's very important because here's the thing about multifamily investing. It's very hard to break into, and a lot of people are trying to do it. So now in this podcast era and the guru era, if somebody does a deal, they're like a quote unquote expert. You know what I mean? And I'm not an expert at all. We just closed our first deal in February. So the real work begins now, especially with the syndication. You have other people's money, and there's a tremendous responsibility with that. So now it's time to get to work and make sure we perform on our business plan. And so for us, we feel like we have a major advantage in order to scale up and be responsible and do an excellent job with asset management, because Robert and I are both here local, boots on the ground. And Robert has no W-2. He's full-time focused on real estate. So he's primarily focused on asset management. So he'll be visiting all our properties weekly. So we have multiple partners who are on the calls each week. So I'll be focused on acquisitions. He'll be focused on asset management. So it's important to just find kind of those clearly defined roles, and then also complementary skill sets in your
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. Is two things. Is, the work doesn't stop once you buy the first property or the next property. The real work starts when you buy the property, because that's where the value add component comes in, and that's where you make the real money. That's where you force the appreciation of your property. And you, like you just said, you did. I mean, you went up to 116% potential return on your property, just by lowering your construction costs and upping your rents higher than you even underwrote. So I think that's phenomenal. And then also what you said about like finding teammates that complement your skills and their other skills that maybe either you don't want to do or you're not good at. And I think that's so important to surround yourself with other people, because you cannot do this on your own. There's so many moving parts. There's so much going on. You really can't do this on your own. And that also brings up another point. So I know at Brad Sumrock's conference, Jeanette and I met you and Grace. And that's something Jeanette and I talk about, is like Jeanette helps me a lot on all my marketing, like literally everything. she has some say in it. Like she's my copy editor, she's my marketer, she's like helps build my websites. Like she
That's
helps
awesome.
me with high level strategy. She's kind of like almost like a coach for me too. So I'd love to hear more about how you and Grace work together as a couple and a partnership, and approaching this together as a family business, more or less.
100%. That's a great point. So none of this is possible without Grace. So I love Grace so much. I'm extremely blessed and fortunate. Like you said, I think you said it well, Evan, when you said Jeanette is kind of like a coach for you, because when there was a lot of adversity last year and you want to quit or you get down, Grace was always there to not only support me, but challenge me. You know what I mean? And so that's extremely important because it's tough. And when you're trying to break into it, you're going to have a lot of naysayers and doubters who say, oh, you can't do this. In my case, you're too young or inexperienced, whatever. And this could apply for anybody. But so it's very important to have a support system. And you have to be careful because you're going to have family members or even maybe your spouse or partner who doesn't believe you can do it until you start to. So you got to find the people who support you. So yeah, for our particular structure, Grace is a marketing machine. And so full disclosure, and this is going to sound kind of like contradictory or you're going to maybe think I sound like a hypocrite, but I really hate social media. Like I think for the most part, it's garbage. I think it creates attention-seeking behavior. It's fear of missing out. It's a lot of fluff. And I really don't like it. I honestly haven't even been on Facebook since February. And we didn't even get a Facebook till last year because we joined this mentorship group and we felt obligated to have one. But with that said, social media is extremely important and it's a necessary evil in my eyes for real estate because you have exposure. Marketing is so important because a lot of it is it's credibility, it's perceived credibility, and it's exposure. And that's where Grace comes in for us. So I'm not good with social media. I don't enjoy it. I want to focus on doing deals, talking to brokers, property management company, executing, talking to investors. Grace is a machine, and that's a big part of this industry that most people don't really realize or they're missing is you have to have an online presence. So what Grace does is she's working so hard for all of our social media. So she runs basically our company LinkedIn. She runs my personal LinkedIn for the most part. I mean, I do like LinkedIn. I think there's more content and I can communicate with people. But Grace runs a lot of that stuff as far as posting all our events. She puts together MailChimp campaigns for our investors. When we have a deal, she creates the entire marketing MailChimp campaign. We just did a 506C, which means that you can market the deal, but you can only take accredited investors. And so I feel like we had a great advantage with that 506C because we had Grace. Just she was putting together all these online ads. We literally got investors that I've never met simply because of targeted LinkedIn ads, targeted Facebook ads, because of what she was doing. We did videos, all kinds of different stuff. She basically coordinates our entire meetup, our Phoenix multifamily meetup. Literally all I do is I call speakers and then I create questions and I invite some of my friends or people who are in the industry. But she's the one who kind of plans the venue, the food, coordinating all the marketing for it. She's the one who gets people to show up to these events. So it's extremely important. And it's kind of funny because like if you listen to some people, they'll talk about they have like partners or executive assistants who run their social media. So if you don't have a partner or somebody close to run your online marketing presence, you should hire like a virtual assistant or somebody. They may not be as effective as like somebody who's close to me, like a Grace, for example, because we are constantly in communication. So if I get messages on Facebook, she's constantly taking screenshots and texting it to me because I literally hate Facebook. I haven't been on it in months. So if I get a message, I don't want to be rude to people though. I like to interact with people. I just don't like all the noise and the distraction. Because I think it's important. You can't worry about competing with other people. You can't worry about what other people are doing because you'll quickly get discouraged. And it's not about that. Everybody's on their own path. They're on their own pace. So you need to compete against yourself. I mean, in a sense, it can provide a good competitive motivation for you if you see that other people are doing stuff, like a healthy competition, but don't give into the noise. So just try to find somebody, if you don't like to do it yourself, to run it. And I recommend if you're trying to focus on the business and real estate, that's what you should focus on. You know what I mean? And this is just my own philosophy. And like I said, I know it sounds hypocritical, but I really don't like it. But I think it's very necessary. It's very important, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. It is like, there's a couple of different things that I thought were great that you brought up. Is one, like, it's amazing to have that support with Grace on your team and have that through your partner. I think that's amazing. And same thing with Jeanette and I as well. But if somebody doesn't have, a really supportive and helpful partner like that, then go out and find one, hire somebody, hire a VA, hire somebody like Philippines. Like,
Yep.
we have VAs that help with the podcast. And there's so many people, or hire somebody in your city. I mean, hire somebody local. It's just so important. You're right, to have a presence, even if you don't enjoy being on there. It's so important to be out there and telling people what you're doing, because I have people approach me all the time because of social media and the podcast that say, hey, I love what you're doing. I love following you. It's amazing how much you're accomplishing. And I'm realizing, I'm like, oh, this is actually inspiring other people to get started on whatever their passion is.
That's a good point. You're bringing value to people, Evan. That's right. You can, your exposure, it's not about look at me, but you can bring value to people, which is really the most important thing. Is that better mindset?
Exactly right. And you're right, though. I mean, there is a negative side to social media, and that, and sometimes I even get caught in it, because I do a lot of marketing myself with Jeanette's help, but I do a lot of stuff on social media. And there's times where I'm like, what the hell am I even looking at? Like,
we all do it, man. It's human nature. It was designed to be that way. It's
So I completely agree. I think you need to have self-control and realize that, first and foremost, you should approach social media to promote your business and to look at it as a way to create better connections with people. So that way you can further your business, so you can do more deals, so you can partner with more people, so you can help more people.
It's critical. It's critical. Yeah. I don't want people to think I'm saying it's not important. It's very important. It's just that I just think if you think it's distracting you, don't focus on it. Focus on doing deals, but it's very critical for your business. And you need to find somebody, like you said, just like you've done, Evan, like you've hired virtual assistants to scale your business, your podcasting exposure and things like that. You delegate people to do that. So it's very important. I agree.
So what's the future of ZH Multifamily?
So we just want to focus on executing our business plan. We have a lot of investors now. We've been fortunate, and we have a tremendous responsibility as a steward of their money. And we have all of our own cash in all these deals as well. So we have skin in the game for all these deals. On these 4 deals that we've acquired, our model is we have not taken any acquisition fees. It's just a straight 80-20 split. So our interests are 100% aligned with the investors. So we have money at risk. And so basically, it's just to execute on our business plan and do a good job with asset management. And then if there's deals that come up that make sense and we feel that we have the infrastructure to effectively manage more assets, then we'll continue to do that. You know what I mean? Because these deals are so hard to find. But yeah, that's the biggest thing I want to stress, is that I'm not an expert, and you got to be careful. A lot of people are not experts. I mean, if you look into the industry, a lot of people have not gone full cycle on these deals, which is important. And so we're really just stay humble, learn, and continue to improve our processes. So that's kind of the future for us, is just continue to grow.
I love it, man. Well, let's jump into our monumental questions.
Sure.
So what does success mean to you?
Man, success to me, I don't know. I want to have the freedom to do other things to like make bigger impacts. So like for me, it's not about like making a bunch of money. Like I've always had the competitive edge, and I think most people listening to this are competitors. That's why you're in the space, or you want to get into the space. So for me, I just like to kind of push my comfort zone and bring on new challenges. Otherwise, I get bored. And for me, it's about abundance mindset. You know what I mean? So Grace and I, like I said, with a lot of adversity last year, we promised each other that we would help people however we can to break into this. And it's more about just achieving new things and overcoming the adversity. Because it sounds cliche, like the pleasures and the journey or whatever, not the destination. And it's true though, because like as you're going through that, and as you start to grow, you gain confidence, you gain a better understanding of yourself, and it's just I don't know, that's the most important thing. So success for me is just to continue to grow, to help other people. And I don't know what my ultimate goal is at this point. I just want to continue to grow and have the financial resources in order to be free. I mean, Grace and I plan on having at least 4 or 5 kids. So we actually have this all scheduled out, Evan. We're going to conceive in the beginning of 2022, and then we're just going to start cranking them out. All right. So we want to need more units under our belt, man, so that we can spend a lot of time with our kids and enjoy those early years. And so for us, it's just about creating a financial foundation at this point. And I just like to connect with other people and kind of see where it goes. I mean, it's not all about real estate. I don't really care about real estate, honestly. I think it's an awesome investment vehicle. and the people you can meet. But it's more about trying to expand into other avenues. So that's kind of where my mind's at.
I love that. And it's funny you say that, because Jeanette and I have talked about that too. Is like, well, having those conversations with your partner is important to be like, okay, well, when do we want to get married? When do we want to have kids? And what kind of lifestyle do we want to have when we bring in that family and bring in those children into the world?
100%. Yeah. I mean, and as people say, you can't plan everything, but you can do a degree. Like, you can have a plan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for us, it's just to scale up and have that passive income in place so that we can now focus on other things. So we have control of our time. We can give back and go down other avenues.
Exactly. So do you have daily habits or rituals that lead to a great day?
I do. Yeah. No, I'm happy you asked about this, Evan, because to me, this is the most important and pivotal thing to being successful. And this is just my opinion, obviously, but in real estate, but in life, like in anything. And so the daily regimen is extremely important. So last summer, like I said, I was really discouraged, didn't know where I was going. And I read a book called The Miracle Morning for Millionaires. Okay. And in Miracle Morning, I recommend everybody read this book, and I follow it. But basically, what it talks about is just kind of like a regimen to do in the morning. So here's my regimen: is I'll wake up. I got like a gallon of water by my bed. So I chug a bunch of water when I wake up just to get hydrated, brush my teeth, wash my face. And then I go upstairs into my office, and I'll pray for like 10 to 15 minutes. I'll do like deep breathing in and out in silence. And I pray. I'm a Christian, so I believe Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. So my faith has really helped me get through the determination. And when stuff gets crazy, prayer and this regimen I'm talking about helps a lot, because this stuff is scary. I have fear, I get anxiety, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Even hosting a meetup, you get nervous. So basically every morning I'll wake up, I'll just do like this deep breathing prayer / meditation, and then I'll journal. Basically I'll just journal about my goals, anything that's on my mind, what I need to do that day. Try to like time block. Just putting it on paper helps a lot. And then every day, some days I'm not able to do it, but almost every single day I'll do a workout. And it's not for like the physical benefit, it's all mental. So it's the release of endorphins, and it's just to relieve stress. So I'll go to the gym, or we're like in a 3-story condo thing. So I'll like run up and down the stairs if I'm like have to go to a meeting just to get the blood flowing.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I have a tremendous amount of energy. Like, that's the key. Like, if I don't work out, then I just feel groggy, I feel irritable, and I don't have the endurance. So when you're rolling and you're trying to put in a lot of hours, it's key to eat healthy, hydrate, work out. And you don't have to do crazy stuff. Like, if you do 10 minutes of something high intensity just to get it going, it's extremely important. So that's kind of my daily regimen. That's very important. And I feel refreshed when I do it. If I don't, then I feel like I'm burnt out. So I think that's a big difference. It's about continue to move forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm a complete believer in the same philosophy of the Miracle Morning. I remember reading that quite a while ago, Hal Elrod, and it's a game changer if you have that routine. And I can literally feel a difference of when I don't do it versus when I do it. It's nice. Right. How happy, productive, fulfilled I feel in that day.
We need to get royalties, Evan, because we're plugging his book. I'm plugging his book all over the place. So we should probably talk to Hal.
Yeah.
But no, just kidding. But it is serious. I highly recommend it. And I don't. By the way, I read a lot of books, but I don't read books because I can't sit down and read a book. Like, I'm too anxious. So I do Audible. So if you don't like to read books, you're like, oh, this guy reads books. I only listen to books when I'm working out. That's the only time I can really find time, whether that's right or wrong. So while I'm working out, I listen to books, and that's what really helps me. So that's something I recommend if you feel like you don't have enough time. It's kind of like it's like multitasking. You work out and you listen to a book.
Yeah.
Or podcast, like Evan. Right?
Yeah. Monumental podcast.
Monumental podcast, baby. There you go.
So also flights too. I think that's huge. Flights and road trips. Great time to get in books and podcasts.
True. Yep. Absolutely. Traveling is good.
So wrapping up, speaking of books, what is your current book you're reading or your favorite book?
Yeah, I have several favorite books. I mean, there's a lot of them. I really like Miracle Morning. How to Think and Go Rich is like a classic. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a classic everybody should read. I like a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't know if a lot of people may not have heard of it. It's a good book, Psycho-Cybernetics. That helped me a lot last year because it talks about, it's kind of like Think and Grow Rich in the sense that you need to envision your goals and have that faith. Faith plus determination equals success, but it also teaches you how to calm down and be patient, because it's easy to get frustrated whenever you're going through adversity or you're not accomplishing the goal that you want. You feel like you're just constantly pounding up against a wall and you're not getting anywhere. You almost have to relax and be patient, and then it will come to you. It's kind of funny how that works. A book I'm reading right now is The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. And so that's been a really interesting book. It just kind of breaks down the psychology of human nature. So I recommend that book. I mean, I've read a lot of his other books, like 48 Laws of Power. Mastery is a really good book. So I like to always be in Audible, and I don't rush through books. So a lot of people say, like, oh, I read like 10 books last month. I'm like, well, hey, good for you. Like I like to, with Audible, you can do the rewind feature. So like I'll listen to stuff over and over, and I like to bookmark it. So if there's certain lessons or things I want to go back to, then I like to do that. One book I just finished is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And so he's like a former Navy SEAL. So that's a great book to listen to if you want to talk about like mental toughness and just being a warrior to get through adversity. So yeah, I think it's important to always listen to books or read books.
Yeah, I love it, man. You got a good library.
We'll have to share. We'll collaborate.
Exactly. So in wrapping up, is there any way people can reach you or follow you or see what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, Evan, I'm happy to help people however I can. You can just shoot me a text and we'll set up a call. I'm happy to help people and jump on a call. So my cell phone number is 602-859-5458. It's 602-859-5458. Shoot me a text and we can set up a call, or we just want to text questions. I'm happy to help. You can shoot me an email. It's Zach, Z-A-C-H, at zhmultifamily.com with no hyphens. Or you go on social media and look up ZH Multifamily and set up a call or something like that through my Calendly app. So I'm happy to help people however I can. Feel free to reach out to me.
Guys, honestly, take Zach up on it because he knows what he's doing. He's just getting started, but he's literally on the path to doing a lot of deals, a lot of units, and helping out a lot of people.
No, thanks, Zach, I appreciate it, man. I'll pay you later, man. Just send me your info.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and Zach, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I love the value that you bring in for our Monumental listeners, and really just happy to share your story and get it out to the world.
No, thank you, Evan. Thank you for having me, man, and thanks for what you're doing. You know, it's people like you, and especially you. I know you said now you're increasing it to 3 podcasts a week. You do a lot of work, man. You hustle hard, and you're not getting paid to do this. You're providing value for people, and that's truly abundance mindset. So I commend you for what you're doing, and thank you for the opportunity for being on your show.
Yes, I love it. Well, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share it on social media. Tag me, tag Zach, tag ZH Multifamily. And with that, have a monumental day.